Chapter 1. How did this all happen? Timeline of key monetary events. 1832. Andrew Jackson was opposed to the Second Bank of the United States, which was a precursor to the Federal Reserve, and he vetoed its recharter in 1832. On January 30th, 1835, Jackson was leaving a congressional funeral in the Capitol building when he was approached by Richard Lawrence. Lawrence pulled out a pistol and fired at Jackson, but the gun misfired. Jackson, who was 67 years old and suffering from various ailments, reacted by charging at Lawrence with his hickory cane and beating him furiously. Jackson believed that the assassination attempt was part of a political conspiracy against him by his Whig Party opponents, who opposed his policies on the Bank of the United States. 1863. Abraham Lincoln was not opposed to central bank control per se, but rather to the abuse of power by private interests that could undermine the public good. Assassinated. 1865. 1913. Federal Reserve Bank, the Fed, established. On December 23, 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law by President Woodrow Wilson, establishing the Federal Reserve System in the United States. The Fed became the central banking system responsible for monetary policy, regulating banks, and stabilizing the economy. 1933. Executive Order 6102 is an executive order signed on April 5, 1933, by U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, forbidding the hoarding of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates within the continental United States. 1944. Bretton Woods Conference. From July 1st to July 22nd, 1944, representatives from 44 allied nations gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, USA, to design a new international monetary system after World War II. The conference resulted in the establishment of the Bretton Woods Agreement, which pegged major currencies to the U.S. dollar and set the dollar's value to a fixed amount of gold. This system aimed to promote economic stability and facilitate international trade. 1963. John F. Kennedy issued an executive order on June 4, 1963, that authorized the Treasury to issue silver certificates, which would have reduced the Federal Reserve's control over money. He was assassinated on November 22, 1963. The order was repealed by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1968. 1971. Decoupling the dollar from gold. On August 15, 1971, U.S. President Richard Nixon announced the Nixon Shock, a significant monetary policy shift. In response to mounting economic pressures, the United States unilaterally terminated the convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold. This effectively ended the Bretton Woods system and led to the era of floating exchange rates, where currencies fluctuate based on market forces rather than being pegged to gold or other fixed values. 2021. Introduction of Fed Coin. The Federal Reserve announced that it would launch a research project to explore the feasibility and implications of issuing a central bank digital currency, CBDC, for the United States, dubbed FedCoin. Central bank digital currencies are the final piece needed for governments around the world to impose their Orwellian nightmare control over us, we the people. We've been hearing more and more about CBDCs lately. It finally made the big jump from something to think about to finally here. While everyone's been distracted by all types of things inside our own countries, from the Pentagon data leaks, banks collapsing, etc., let us delve deeper.